Hello. Right. Um, Yesterday, some Islamists, far left, Palestinian, whatever, Hamas supporters decided to go into Finchley, which is a Jewish area of North London, if you didn't know, to protest about a film being shown about the October 7th massacre. They covered the place in graffiti. Covering Jewish premises with graffiti. That sounds like something that happened in Germany in the 1930s, doesn't it? Yes, it does, doesn't it? Anyway, what happened was that the um, local community and others who were hearing about it went there, and the extreme left, anti-Semitic extreme left, who were there were outnumbered. Usually on a Saturday when the streets of Westminster and that turn into 1930s Germany, the pro-Israel people are outnumbered, and the police cage them in while the great unwashed go past hurling abuse at them and coming out with anti-Semitic statements, which they operate as Khan's boot boys, and usually Khan's boot boys can actually maintain what they consider a troublesome element who do not agree with the pro-Palestine marches. But what happened in Finchley, we see it's a Jewish area, so it looks like the entire community came out. There was a lot more of them than normal, and they marched straight towards the people who had gone into their community to cause trouble. As the police were outnumbered, Khan's boot boys, who would normally side with the left wing, as they do in London, they were in a bit of a dilemma here, and so they had to arrest some of their own side. But basically, they just got the troublemakers who had gone into the community, of course, so just got chased off to the station, and that was that. Uh, Before I proceed with what I want to show and call out the BBC on how they reported this, the Bolshevik Broadcasting Commune, very left wing, anti Semitic, etc. Report. I'd like to actually say that the Bolshevik Broadcasting Commune has always been lousy. For instance, in the 1970s, the National Front decided to hold a meeting at Hounslow Town Hall. Now, if you don't know, Hounslow is an Asian area. Now, obviously, the community weren't happy with this, and basically, the police actually protected the National Front and went against the Asian community. The BBC, who tends not to be on the right side of history ever, in this regard, actually sided with the National Front, saying that the local community were the troublemakers, even though the National Front had gone there to hold a meeting at the town hall to stir up trouble. Now, yesterday we had this report.
The headlines. Pro-Israel protesters celebrated tonight after chasing away pro-Palestinian supporters who were holding a vigil outside the Phoenix Cinema in East Finchley. The vigil was in protest at a film about the October 7th attacks. Earlier, the cinema was daubed in graffiti. Supporters of Israel danced in the street into this evening.
It was not a vigil. But being an anti Semitic left wing organisation, the Bolshevik broadcasting commune wasn't going to go along with the truth and make it look like the pro-Palestinian people were the poor victims. Absolute bloody nonsense. Basically, they've taken over. They take over central London regularly on a Saturday, and obviously they're not outnumbered, but they decided to go into a Jewish community and found out they were outnumbered, and the community, in a good old British way, stood up to the people who were trying to trample on their community. But the BBC, obviously, this is quite offensive, a local community standing up for itself, you see, because the Bolshevik broadcasting community is statist, you see, and so it believes the state should actually defend the communities and look after communities rather than the community itself. Basically, they do not believe in society. They believe in the state. So that they couldn't actually say that the local community thought, bugger this, we're not having it, not bloody likely, and stood up to them. I mean, basically, take it with a stiff upper lip when they're actually prancing around central London, but they come into your community and it's not bloody likely. Very British, don't you think? And this is basically what happened. And basically, who are usually Khan's boot boys were kind of in a dilemma, because basically the people they support were outnumbered, so they decided to swap sides. And I mean, it would be interesting to see if any of these people who went to Finchley to cause trouble will be charged or anything, but I doubt that. You see, they are Khan's boot boys. This is why Steve Bray, alias David Allen, organised the Things Can Only Get Better and all the noise outside Downing Street when Rishi Sunak called the election. You see, because the police are Khan's boot boys, they do his bidding. And you better remember that London is the blueprint for the rest of the country. And if you don't want to live in a police state, you need to vote Conservative.